Hello, and welcome to Surfing Adversity with Antaeus. I am your host, Antaeus Delsinos, and for this, the inaugural installment of Surfing Adversity, I'm going to kick things off by talking to you about surfing adversity. In my latest book, Happy Now and Always, I wrote a chapter called Surfing Adversity, because I felt it was important for us all to recognize challenges as essential elements in life. Life is destined to have its ups and downs, like waves on an ocean. No one spends their entire life riding on top of the crest of a wave, while others exist solely in the trough, no matter what social media might imply. Everyone experiences both the crest of the wave as well as the trough. In fact, the crest of the wave cannot even exist without the trough. The perspective to be able to truly appreciate being on top of the world can only be found in the reality of having experienced being in the gutter. Without experiencing the trough of hard times, we would never be capable of appreciating the crest of good times. So rather than fight against the trough in futility, we may as well recognize the value of the trough and use the power and momentum it holds to propel us forward. This is how we begin surfing adversity for our own positive benefit, rather than allowing ourselves to be overcome and sink into our own mind's negativity toward the trough, and our objection to having to deal with any adversity in the first place. It's all about our mindset. Circumstances often happen in life which are out of our control. Surfing adversity means experiencing and staying afloat or on top of the challenges in life, accepting and commanding the inevitable and unexpected without sinking into those waves and allowing them to consume us. If we cannot realize the value and opportunity for growth that adversity brings to our life, then half of our life ends up being a struggle. A struggle in our own mind to deny a reality over which we may have no control. It is imperative that we experience both the good and the bad in life, the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, for us to be able to build perspective as well as grow and evolve. When we think about the evolution of anything, whether it be people, animals, reptiles, fish, insects, plants, or whatever, we can understand that challenges and adversity are the foundation of all evolution. Nothing evolves without being challenged, and quite often the challenge or adversity is not fun. It is not enjoyable, it is usually uncomfortable, and sometimes even feels very harsh. Growth can be messy, but it does not mean that it is not necessary. It does not mean that there is no value or no benefit to the difficulty, and it also does not mean that while we are going through the adversity, we must suffer. Suffering is a product of our own mind judging and rejecting or denying an experience as unjust or unfair. You see, there is a difference between pain and suffering. Pain is inevitable. Everyone will need to deal with their own fair share of pain, whether it seems like it or not. And our judgment that this may not be so is part of the source of our own suffering. Comparing our own pain or misfortune to the easy life which our mind tricks us into believing others are unfairly awarded with is part of our suffering. Pain can instill growth and evolution. Suffering is our own mind wishing things to be different than they are, even when we have no control. Pain or adversity serves a necessary purpose. Suffering is unnecessary and serves no purpose. In Happy Now and Always, I identified 3 emotions or outlooks which relentlessly pull us away from enjoying a peaceful, happy life and into a mindset of suffering. Those 3 emotions or outlooks are attachment, desire, and judgment. I also identified 3 emotions or outlooks which progressively and unfailingly lift us to a higher state of awareness or enlightenment, where joy and contentment abound. Those three emotions or outlooks are acceptance, gratitude, and faith, or trust if you prefer. Now let's compare the products of these fundamental thoughts, feelings, and emotions, which have such a directional pull on our life. The negative versus its positive counterpart. So, attachment versus acceptance, desire versus gratitude, judgment versus faith or trust. First, attachment versus acceptance. Attachment is the clinging to our own conceptual reality of what life is, what we have in life, where we are in life, or who is in our life. Attachment is the possession or ownership of our conceptual reality as a permanent actuality, denying as unacceptable anything which does not fit into our own version of conceptual reality. Acceptance, on the other hand, is the understanding of the fluidity of life and the realization that there is a reason for everything we experience, and that our purpose is not to harness and control life, but to grow and evolve by flowing with all of our experiences, rather than fighting against the circumstances which seem unjust. Second, desire versus gratitude. Desire is the wanting for something we see as missing from our life, putting our focus on something we believe would help to enrich or fulfill our existence, maybe something we feel we deserve or something others have that we should have as well, so life would be fair in our own mind. Desire is the judgment that our life is somehow lacking or incomplete. Gratitude, however, is the appreciation for life as it is, not needing things to be different in order to be happy, not being thankful for what we have in comparison to others, but the gratitude of being which is independent of all outside influence, and independent of things which could be judged as negative experiences. And finally, judgment versus faith. Judgment is the mind's conclusion that anything is or is not what it should be. Judgment is our ego mind's decision that any situation does or does not fit within our concept of an ideal life, that people have or have not behaved as they should, or even we ourselves have or have not achieved what we should have in life. Judgment is the ego mind's ruling of right and wrong. Conversely, faith is the trust in the inherent wisdom of life, not simply a hope or a hollow belief in a deity to pull us through the hard times, but an unshakable knowing that there is a reason for everything. And even when we cannot understand what that reason could be, faith is the expectation that if we could see the whole picture, everything would make sense. Faith is the understanding that all of life's experiences, the good and the bad, are part of the process to guide us to a destiny beyond individual circumstances, which is our evolution toward enlightenment. And if things do not seem or feel good at the time, then the process is not complete. So we can accept the bad rather than judge it to be unfair or unnecessary, while continuing to anticipate the good. Faith is the trust in the inherent wisdom of life, which gives us the ability to accept and delight in all life has to offer. Our ability to successfully surf adversity throughout life depends on developing the capacity to transform an undesirable aspect in life into something desirable, similar to the fairy tale of the Frog Prince. By understanding the value of the undesirable situations or occurrences in life, then being accepting and observing without judgment, and finally giving loving appreciation for the contrasts life has to offer, we have the ability to transform what we see as undesirable into something we see as acceptable or even desirable. In other words, by kissing the frog, that frog can be transformed into a prince. I know giving loving appreciation for the contrasts life has to offer can be a tall order sometimes, especially when facing a devastating loss or life feels unfair and overwhelmingly harsh. In these times, it is important that we revise and redirect our point of view to at least change what we see as undesirable into something we can see as tolerable. This is a positive and progressive step to climbing out of a pit of sorrow or despair, and also a good building block towards acceptance, gratitude, and faith or trust, which will in turn lead to a greater happiness in life. You see, in some of the earlier translations of The Frog Prince, the princess did not actually kiss the frog, she hated the frog. But since the frog was part of her life, she was obliged to tolerate the frog as something she must accept and endure, a fact of life which she simply could not change. Then after a time, the frog transformed into a prince simply because the princess had surrendered herself to the inevitability that the frog was now unavoidably part of her life. There are times when we do not need to be happy about something in our life, but if it is something we cannot change, we do need to accept it and keep moving forward. To kiss the frog means to accept and embrace the purpose of the diversity in life as we experience it, rather than pining for a better reality now or yearning for a better future. There can be no mountains without valleys. To stand successfully on top of a mountain for our entire life would be as to stand on a flat, barren plain, devoid of any depth. Such an existence could offer no meaning, no joy, no sorrow, and no purpose. Recognize that the transformation is not the physical transformation of the object of our focus. That is to say, the frog does not literally change into a prince. Instead, the transformation is the change in our perception of the object of our focus. When the frog is seen as acceptable, with a beauty and necessity of its own, the frog can thereafter be accepted as being a valuable part of our experience in life. In other words, without the possibility of the frog, there could be no possibility of the prince. It is yin versus yang. One cannot exist without the other. The bad is merely a precursor to the good. So I guess the main thing to be careful of is that we are not at the mercy of emotional reactions based on attachment, desire, and judgment. Sometimes we just need to accept a situation in life, have faith in the process, and look ahead to how the situation may end up serving us in the future. I remember several years ago, the place where I worked decided to subcontract out all of the laboratory work and close my department. I am usually pretty good at not getting caught up in worry and concern, but this time I was actually quite jubilant. The CEO and HR person were breaking the solemn news to me, and inside I was a little giddy with excitement. I was biting my lip, trying not to look too happy. But my mind was already thinking, I wonder where this is going to take me, a new adventure. I knew I had no control over the situation, but still I had complete faith in the universe, or God if you prefer. So I knew that this was not going to be a bad thing. My destiny was just around the corner, and I could not wait to see what life had in store for me. I was up for the challenge and ready for the adventure. I had come to the point where I no longer needed to explain myself to others or justify my reasoning for my course in life. I no longer concerned myself with defending why I lost my job, with all of the sordid details of what the company I worked for did unfairly. After all, to explain myself is basically to award someone else the power to decide or judge my position or actions to be acceptable or not. By the same token, I realized that life does not need to explain its workings to me. Life does not sit down with me and justify itself by saying, "Well, Antaeus, I had the company fire you because I have something better in mind for you, and you just needed a little push out of the nest." Or, "Sorry, Antaeus, you're just a big dumb jerk, and I wanted to knock you down a peg to teach you a lesson." I'm sure if life did take the time to explain itself to me, I would have gotten both of these explanations a few times over the course of my life. And at those points, I'm sure both of these explanations would have been warranted. However, life does not bother to justify itself to me, because I am not in the best position to judge what should be the best course for my life. I simply trust and have faith in the wisdom of life that it knows what it is doing. After all, fighting against something we have no control over, when we cannot even see the whole picture, would just be crazy. Life became so much easier for me when I stopped looking for it to go the way I wanted or expected. The trick is to accept all of the challenges and opportunities that we don't expect, with faith and confidence. Nothing life has thrown at you so far has stopped you. Why expect that to change? We don't have to understand it all as it happens. Just trust in the inherent wisdom of life that everything is for a reason, and keep moving forward. When I don't understand something at the time, I try to remember that it simply means I don't understand it at the time. It doesn't mean that I never will understand, but even if I don't, I trust there's a reason for that too. Don't look for happiness to be the place where nothing goes wrong. We are not entitled to have a life without challenges provided for us. Why would we even think we could enjoy such a tedious existence? Rather, look to happiness as the place where we are presented with many challenges and trials. Yet we have the strength and spirit to overcome all of the challenges we face. The opportunity for personal growth usually comes in dark times. Don't get caught up in the darkness and sink beneath the wave. Use the wave and surf the adversity, trusting that our course in life has a divine purpose to carry us unfailingly toward the peace and joy of enlightenment. Don't allow the trials and tribulations of life to pull you down. Recognize that there is a purpose and a positive course to everything we experience in life. Knowing this and having faith in this steadfast wisdom of life means we can dissolve all of our concerns and always move forward, surfing adversity. And on that note, I'm going to leave you with a few insightful and immortal words from John Lennon. There's nowhere you can be that isn't where you're meant to be. It's easy. All you need is love. Well, that's it for today. Please feel free to contact me through my website, peacefulhappy.life, if you are struggling, or even if you are not. None of us need to go through this alone. Until we meet again, have faith and enjoy the whole journey while surfing the adversity. Bye for now.